In this video, I want to teach you how to stop your dog from barking. There's a lot of different ways to do this, but I want to give you the number one mistake that I see a ton of people make with their dogs. And then I'll go give you a couple of other categories if your dog doesn't fall into that category of barking that I think you can go work on. So the number one mistake I see people make is they allow their dogs to use barking as a communication medium. So what do I mean by that? I mean that they allow their dogs to bark to be let outside. They allow their dogs to bark to be let inside. And you know, I can't blame them all the time, whether this dog is living in an apartment, for example, and the dog's barking to go outside. The owners feel guilty for their neighbors, which is a noble thing, and they let their dogs out when they bark at the door so they can go outside, you know, and or vice versa. If you're in a neighborhood and your dog's barking while he's outside to be let in, they go and, oh, I gotta not annoy my neighbors. I gotta, you know, go let my dog in, and they will let the dog in when it barks. Well, let me tell you something. Your neighbors are going to be much more happy if you go over to them the first day today that you get your puppy, or whenever you get your puppy, and say, hey, I'm getting a puppy, and here's what I'm going to do. I don't want him to be a barking problem for you, and so what I'm going to do is I know that if I let him in when he barks in this first week, he's going to learn that barking lets him inside, and if I'm gone for a couple hours, he's going to develop a bad barking behavior. And so what I'm going to hopefully do for you is I'm going to let my dog bark for 2 or 3 minutes before I let him inside, and make sure that he's quietly sitting or laying down on the porch, or at least not barking to be let in, before I let him in this first week of his life here at our house. And can you please support me in that so he doesn't turn into a really bad barker later on? And open up that line of communication with your neighbors so that you don't make the mistake of letting your dog in every time it barks and actually making the problem worse, and actually making your neighbors hate your dog more. That's the number one mistake I see people make, and there's a couple of different themes of it that play out in different areas of life. My mother makes this mistake every time. She's a lost cause on the good dog department. But every time I come over, the dog barks at me because it wants me to pet it. And I can't, and she's like, oh, she wants you to pet her, da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, I can't pet a barking dog, Mom, because what it does is it trains the dog to bark to be pet. And that's what she's done. And so the dog gets really excited and barks up a storm anytime anybody comes over because it wants to be pet, because the barking was rewarded. So please don't do that. It's so annoying, and it's just disruptive to have a dog in your life that's like that. And so I just highly encourage you to pay attention to this principle and not reward your dogs barking for attention types of things. Now, with that being said, I got to cut this video short because YouTube doesn't allow me to go into an hour-long seminar on this type of stuff. But there are other types of barking, and they come at different stages for your dog. So there's territorial barking. Doesn't tend to be present in puppies, but it's something that needs to be trained for when they mature and they turn into older dogs. So it's something that does need to be worked on, and that it's a different process than just barking for attention that needs to be addressed. You actually need to change your dog's emotional reactions to people who come into its life as they enter into its territory, and it's a different process. You have fearful barking, which is all about confidence building, and not about territory whatsoever, but about how comfortable your dog is with things like desensitization to gunshots and firecrackers and running generators or another barking dog, and on and on. It's a different process, and those are just some of the other types of barking that happen. Boredom is another one, and I just wanted you to be aware of those. Again, I don't have time to go into this particular video. I do have a complete course where we actually brought in all of these different types of barking dogs, and we fixed their barking issues on camera to show you the different steps for how to fix each of these barking issues. One caveat here, we did not fix, I guess we did help the aggression barking, but this isn't a course about fixing aggressive dogs. But if you go over to thedogtrainingsecret.com, we have a store over there where we do have a barking course for more advanced information on these other types of barking, if that happens to be the kind of barking that maybe you have, or maybe you're interested in looking at more advanced ways to fix it. we do have that as a resource available to you if it's of interest, but if you don't do that, at least do the not rewarding your dog for using barking as a means of communication, and you will be well on your way to making sure your dog doesn't have a barking problem.